And now we move to the third speaker. So I'd like to introduce Nurgul. And she's sorry for my, I have to change glass. She's the steering committee chair of the Asia Pacific Women Watch, member of the Regional Coordination Committee of the APRCEM, and she's have extensive experience on SDG involving in the women's major group. And today she will, I think after the two presentations are very critical about all the challenges, so now this third presentation, I hope that will help us to look at more like a brighter issue by discussing how we can moving ahead and for better accountability and monitoring and financing for sexual and reproductive health and rights as a part of the implementation in the agenda of 2030. Yeah, so Nurgul, please.
Good morning, dear friends, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It's a big honor and privilege to share some ideas with such a fantastic group of experts that are here. Today, my presentation will focus on two main issues. One will be accountability and monitoring of sexual reproductive health and rights as part of implementation of the 2030 agenda. And the second part will be on financing and means of implementations for SRHR within Agenda 2030 and some recommendations. So, while preparing to this conference, I was thinking we have a lot of challenges. How now about moving, how we can go together to address them? Just a short introduction. In the global agenda, we have definitely SRHR goal, SRHR targets, SRHR indicators. Besides, it is suggested to review implementation and ensure full access to protection of sexual reproductive health and rights in accordance with international conventions. And this is very important also. I want very much yesterday to sessions, I understood that very similar context, very similar challenges in Central Asia with rest of the Asia Pacific and with rest of the world. One of the challenges that I would like to highlight, lack of state monitoring and evaluation, lack of resources for governmental and non-governmental programs, lack of relevant articles in the budgets. Status of sexual reproductive health and rights are at very weak level. And also, our evaluation showed that state and donors are falling short of their commitments and they are missing opportunities till now. But are there any opportunities in future? Let me concentrate on part one, accountability and monitoring. It is important that in the new era of domestication of the global Agenda 2030, we have several new opportunities. And I think it would be very good if we use them very adequately and fully. In the process, first, we have space, we have instruments, and we have commitments to use in the process of domestication of the global agenda. Second, there is a huge process of discussion and implementation of development effectiveness principles in many of our countries, and this also gives some new opportunities. And also there is a big attention, at least at political level, raise accountability of private sector. So we have to use this, and we should not wait to be invited to that. If we look at Agenda 2030, is there anything new, any added value to the work that is being done? I think there are three added value that we can, at least I could see. First, now it is possible to strengthen monitoring not only by using traditional channels of monitoring, like UPR, CIDR reporting, etc., but this is strengthened now by possibility to report on international conventions by using SDG reporting processes. All our countries were never reporting on SRHR in their country reports. It was not part of any state accountability on development. And this is a new area where we can put. And SRHR activists and scholars, activists did great work on that. But this is growing opportunity at the national and local level. Second added value, that it brings new actors, accountability actors. In response to the question, who reports to whom, we can see appearance of these new actors, local authorities, private sector, parliaments, and donors. Within the discussion and platform of sustainable development effectiveness, there is another added value of the focus on development effectiveness for implementation of SRHR is that new dimension of sustainable development, orientation of sustainable development on results. If we look at all our programs, country programs, we cannot see, surprisingly, results, and we can never see, could never find results on SRHR, for example, in results framework in our countries. Let me share some thoughts about country results framework. Currently, in several of Asia-Pacific countries, there is a piloting review progress of a new development, and they are trying to link planning with budgeting. Recently, when I was in Bangladesh, I found out that civil society were very poorly involved in that, and indicators and targets of SRHR, of women's rights, were not part. And this gives us an opportunity. So today, we can include in the process, if we advocate, and if we get all formulated recommendations to this process, linking planning and finances, and if somebody wants to know more, I will be very happy to share. So there is a process of discussing country results framework, linking with development financing, and there is an opportunity. More specifically, at the period of linking the planning and financing, we ask questions: where are action and financings for these commitments on women's rights, human rights, and civil society engagement? But also, this is an opportunity to suggest, not only ask questions, but to give practical, concrete suggestions, what actions and what finances do we need for all the concerns that we are raising. And maybe it is time to call for concrete steps and mechanisms of inclusive monitoring with clear national and local indicators that recognize multidimensionality of development in the country results framework. This is still missing, but the work is in process, so we can engage. It is important to continue work on implementation of the development effectiveness principles, and there are some steps. First steps were formulated by a CPD platform in Nairobi, where development effectiveness and global partnership were analyzed. We can do more now. SRHR, gender equality, needs to be supported by a concrete mutual accountability processes and mechanisms at national, local levels with wide participation of civil society. Within strengthening national ownership, to adopt specific indicators on national and local civil society participation as institutionalized technical, political actors in dialogues and development planning and connecting with finances. And this is, I think, is very important because we have now opportunity and commitment on institutionalized participation. If we look on different councils in our country, there are very few civil society, and there are very few SRHR experts in these boards. We need to step in and to give the suggestion and institutionalize, not allowed to pick someone they want. Institutionalization of civil society in this process is important. In strengthening efforts to achieve concrete and sustainable results, it would be good to call to adopt national indicators of inclusion of women's rights and women's organization into processes of managing for results monitoring evaluation. It will be good, so it's an indicator on institutionalization, and we can add that at the local and national level. In the process of linking finance flows with national development results, it would be good to set up a component on planning, using and reporting, on development cooperation, on filling finance and knowledge gaps regarding SRHR, on leveraging other sources of public and private finance for SRHR. It's also important when we talk about accountability to bring in accountability of official development aid and of South-South cooperation. Maybe we would be interested to advocate for accountability of the ODA at very local and national level and South-South assistance. And they all committed in various documents to realization of SRHR. And the other very important aspect on commitments on enabling environment for civil society. And now it can be in combination with the calls to realization of Agenda 2030. Accountability of private sector. I was very happy to hear yesterday at the plenary and in different sessions, and today Kai Yiping was mentioning accountability of private sector. We need to concentrate more efforts on accountability of private sector, work with private sector for impact with gender equality and human rights perspective. Private sector must report on status of human rights and women's rights according to nationally and locally developed indicators. Advocacy on public-private partnership. There is high risk of decreasing access to SRHR services, and this is something, an advocacy area, which is, during multi-stakeholder conversation, we can bring in practical, concrete suggestions. Today, we recommend in the process of linking planning and financing to focus on very specific requirements for private sector, not general, but very concrete. If we're talking about abortion, if we're talking about services, we need to bring up a very concrete recommendation to private sector to ensure that SRHR are protected and not violated, and that private sector monitors and reports on their budget linked to SRHR integration into private sector accountability. It's also important, and you all know this area very well, accountability of parliaments on ensuring that laws are supporting SRHR. But also it would be very good to increase accountability of law enforcement bodies. And the other aspect, which is maybe now needs more our attention, is accountability on SRHR should include what legal reforms are adopted in support of gender-responsive budgeting. Later on this section on finance, I will share what experience exists in the world. Accountability, within the accountability discussion, it will be very good if you in your countries support and advocate for better participation of your governments in the third round monitoring of the global partnership. Next year there will be a third round, and one of the indicators, number 8, is on gender equality and women, and that is where we can push our advocacy. Recommendations, we have also recommendations from the CPDE Feminist Constituencies on accountability. And this is on reporting on indicator 5C1, which is exactly this, exactly to the indicator in the global partnership, indicator 8. So 5C1 and number 8 are equal. And last second round monitoring, we missed, there were a lot of challenges. It would be good if SRHR community will push for that and cooperate on this at the government and UN level. Financing and means of implementation. As you know, states committed to invest and committed and formulated very well means of implementation. Today I will concentrate only on one of 6 segments of means of implementation, on financing. And the general question, are means of implementation working for SRHR? New opportunities and new challenges for financing SRHR within domestication of Agenda 2030 includes that there is a commitment to provide means of implementation. So this space allows us to step in, to institutionalize, to give suggestions, and to request what we need. Second, commitment on institutionalization. That also gives an opportunity, because before, many years ago, we never had in our countries commitment to institutionalize every body, every process, to include civil society representation. It's not yet reality, but at political level it's good, and this is a good opportunity and also a challenge for us and for everyone. New space that we may want to use, model of country results framework, which I mentioned in the first part, and integrated national financial frameworks. This requires our very specific attention. Some challenges already are identified, and women's organizations may want to make a contribution to address these challenges. For example, challenge includes lack of clarity about amount and type of resources required and how they can be best channeled for the results to be achieved. In several discussions, not only on SRHR, on women's rights, on gender equality, it was very difficult to say what amount, how much, what channels, and that maybe will need our focus in the future, our advocacy. Because I was too enthusiastic and wrote too many, just let me say that SRHR and ODA are very much linked, and this is another area. From global to national, when SDGs are formulated, we need now to work out at the national level. And such integration requires legislation support and budgetary reforms. And on the just final note, a call for legal reforms in support of gender-responsive budgets. There is an expert group meeting report. If anyone wants to learn more about, in details about this, I will be very happy to share. There is an experience when, for example, Mexico, 2011 Planning Act with the inclusion of gender equality as transversal axis, budget and fiscal responsive acts. In Austria, it's obligatory. Constitution made it obligatory to put in budget. And in Uganda. And there is a great experience in Nepal. Thank you so much.